Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but I want to get straight into this video because I'm really excited and really happy to film this video, and it's basically about my whole driving test experience. And I'm really recording this video to encourage people because I've told my story to a lot of people, and a lot of people were like, oh Wura, I would have given up by now, like your perseverance is very commendable. So I've decided to share it and share my story. And let me start with the good news, guys. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have finally passed my driving test, and I say finally 3 times because once I explain the story you will understand that finally, like, is literally finally, like, I didn't think it would ever happen for me. But yeah, so I'm 23 now, and I actually started to learn how to drive when I was 17, so it took me 6 years to pass my driving test, and that's just not normal. Okay, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and it was actually a really tedious process. Okay, so let's get into it. Right, let me just hit you with the basics. So I've actually passed my driving test on the 30th of March 2017 this year, and that was my 8th test. Yes, my 8th test. And for those who are wondering, I live in the UK, so that's the UK driving test, which is actually one of the most difficult driving tests in the world. Like, it's actually, and even if that is not statistically proven, I'm telling you because I experienced it 8 times. Okay, but yeah, so I passed on my 8th time with 6 minors and no majors. Okay, so the quick basis of the driving test in the UK is there's like serious and dangerous faults, which are considered majors. Just a quick, you know, the quick science behind it. So there's serious and dangerous faults, which equate to majors, and then there's minor faults, which obviously are called minors. And to pass the UK driving test, you're allowed 15 minors. If you get any more than 15 minors, then it's a fail. If you get more than 3 minors doing the same thing, it's a fail. And if you get 1 serious or dangerous fault classed as majors, it's a fail. So my first test I did when I was, I think 20. I think I was 20 when I did my first test, and I had a competition with my friend, and I was like, we're like both learning how to drive, and we're like, oh, let's see who wins first, who gets their driving test first. Bearing in mind at this point I'd never taken a test. Yeah, I failed that test, and I just watched all my friends passing and driving, and I just kept on failing, and it got to a point where I became an inconvenience to people because one of my biggest things is I hate being an inconvenience to people. So I actually used to hate having to ask people for lifts or try and get a lift home, or going somewhere and knowing I have to kind of like beg someone for a lift or try and tag along with someone, and it just became really like, I know it's not good to have pride, and I try to swallow my pride, but at the end of the day everyone's got a little bit of pride, and I became a bit embarrassed, like always having to ask people for rides. And as I got older, I know people just thinking like, well, like, get yourself a car and like drive like every day tagging along with me kind of thing. And I know it was annoying. And every time I would do a test, you know, I would do everything. Like, I'd pray, I would fast before some test. Like, I did everything. And honestly, it was such a struggle for me. I just could not pass my test. I just equate it to, listen, maybe this is just God telling me I'm not ready to pass right now, but driving is serious, and if anything was to happen to me, I could get into an accident which could become fatal or could be a serious incident. So I just thought like, maybe God is saying, well, you're not ready. But I thought like I could do everything. And throughout my driving experience, my learning to drive experience, I had so many different driving instructors. I had like in total about 8 or 9, and I remember my first one, he passed my cousin, he passed my cousin's friend. Like, people were passing with him, I just couldn't do it. I did 2 when I was studying in Leicester at university, so I did 2 in Leicester, that didn't work. I did 1 in a place called Wanstead, which is even far from my house, that didn't work. And I did the rest at a place called Goodmayes Driving Test Centre. So if anyone who's around the Essex region, like the East London / Essex region, that's sort of the one that's close to me, and I did it in Goodmayes. And it got to a point where my friend Andrew, who's been in my vlogs, he's the one who introduced me to this driving instructor, and he was like, Wura, he's really good. And the first day I drove with him, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I love this guy, I love his teaching style. If you guys are within that Essex/East London area and you need a driving instructor, please email me and I'll give you his details, because he's really, really good, and I eventually passed with him. And I recommend him to everyone. My little sister who's learning to drive now, who wants to start learning to drive, and my aunties and anyone else who's trying to drive, I always recommend them to him, because he's really good, he's really patient, and ultimately someone who just could not pass their test eventually passed their test. So I had a lot of driving instructors before him. A lot of driving instructors just messed me about, took my money, didn't take me seriously, wasn't teaching me properly, told me that I'm not ready for my test, and was prolonging teaching me things. Like, I remember, like, I didn't learn maneuvers until like later on, when I should have learned about maneuvers within the first 10 to 20 lessons. So I think I did over 400 hours, which is a crazy amount when an average person passed their test after 40 hours. So you can see the amount of hours I did, and it was really, really difficult for me. And I remember there was a point where I gave up, because to do your driving test you have to do your theory, and my theory was never a problem for me, so I passed my theory, and then at one point my theory expired, because your theory lasts for 2 years, and my theory expired. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I spent so much money. A theory test is, at the time, was £30. To do a driving test is £62. And every time you do a driving lesson, it's £20 an hour. And I was doing so many of them. Every time you do your driving test, you pay your driving instructor £70 to use his car for the day of the test as well. So if you calculate that, that is a lot of money I was spending every single driving test, and I just kept on failing and kept on failing and kept on failing. And at one point I just completely gave up, and I was like, I just can't do this, driving's not for me, I'm just going to be that Uber girl and splash my cash on Uber. But Uber became very, very, very expensive, and I just thought, let me just give it another go. Gave it another go. That's when Andrew introduced me to his driving instructor, who I eventually passed with. And I just remember the first day being in his car, and he goes, Wura, book your test, you can drive. Like, no one had ever told me that. Everyone was like, oh, Wura, you can't drive. One of my instructors told me that I have a 3 out of 10% chance of ever passing, like really horrible things. Another one of my driving instructors called me stupid because I just I don't know, he said I couldn't grasp a certain maneuver or something, and he called me stupid. So like, I'd been through a lot. So for him to just go, Wura, you are good, trust me, book your, it gave me confidence. It gave me real confidence. And when I did my first test with him, although I did fail it, that's the best result I'd ever gotten. I'd gotten 4 minors and 1 serious, and the serious was for being too close to another car, and that was it. Apart from that, I had driven really, really, really well. It was him instilling that confidence in me that I'm a good driver, that I can do this. It really, really, really helped. Was I'm used to other driving instructors just basically telling me I'm just crap and I'm never going to pass. So that really, really helped. And with him, I did a total of 5 driving tests. And I know after a while it got really crazy. After every single driving test, I would literally just cry. Like, I'll sit in my car when they tell you, unfortunately you failed. I will literally sit in my car, and I would just, in the car, obviously my driving instructor's car, and I would literally just cry my eyes out, because I was just like, this is a joke. Like, this is a joke. Why is it that everyone around me is passing, all of my friends are driving, and I just cannot do it? Like, maybe driving's not for me, because every single time, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I prayed, no matter how hard I did everything, I just felt like, this is ridiculous now. Like, I've done so much, I've done so many hours of learning, how can I just not pass? Especially if my driving instructor's telling me, Wura, you can do this. I just felt like I was letting him down. And so I remember the day I passed my test, the day of that test, I sat in my instructor's car and I was panicking. I was like, I cannot go through this again. I'd already planned to fail at this point, and I had to do my theory twice, because my theory had already expired, because your theory lasts 2 years, and my theory that expires, I had to do my theory again, and my theory was coming up to expiring this year as well. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, if I fail this again, I've decided that I'm just going to take a break, and I'm just going to leave driving for a while and come back to it at another stage later on, when I've healed from all the failation I have just been through. So I remember talking to my driving instructor in the car, saying to him, I'm going to fail this again. I already know I'm going to fail. I'm used to it. This is just protocol now, let's just go through the motions. And yeah, so I remember telling him I'm gonna fail, and I really just thought, like, what's the point of doing this test? I'm just gonna fail, and it's gonna be over for me. And he was like, Wura, do not think that. He really, really encouraged me. Like, Wura, why are you saying this? You've already given up. What's the point? I might as well just drive you home then. What's the point of taking you to this driving centre if you're telling me you're gonna fail anyway? Like, I don't want to hear that from you. You're a good driver, you drove really well today, you drove really well my last lesson, just do it. Don't think about anything and just go for it, okay? And he even told me, like, even in the beginning, if you make a few mistakes, normally because it's the beginning and normally you're nervous at the beginning of a test, they usually overlook it. So don't worry, just go out there and you know you've done this many times, you've done all this before, you know what to expect. So I was just like, do you know what? Why not? And at this point, I told no one. Nobody knew. In fact, my mum was at home. And my mum has been through this journey with me, by the way. Like, every day I come home crying, Mum, I failed again, Mum, I failed again, Mum, I failed again. Like, she'd been through it with me. She really wanted me to pass. She really felt for me because she knows how hard I tried and how much I wanted it. Around, I told nobody. I didn't tell anyone I had a test, and I just thought it's going to be between me and my driving instructor and God. And I remember saying one prayer before I took the test. I said, God, let your will be done. If you think I'm ready to drive, and if you think I'm ready to drive and I'll be a safe driver and I won't kill myself and I'll drive well, Lord Jesus, then help me pass, please. Like, that was just my only prayer, and that was it. And once I sat in the car, it was a woman examiner. I'd never ever had a lady before, so I didn't know how to think about it, because sometimes ladies can be really nice and apparently sometimes lady examiners can be actually quite, you know, harsh. So I had a lady. All other tests I'd always had a male examiner, but this time I had a lady. I went into the car and I remember once the test started, she told me to take a right turn at the junction, and as I was turning right, I actually hit the car on the curb, and the examiner like jumped out her seat a bit, and she goes, that's not good. And in my mind I was like, oh my gosh, within literally the first 2 minutes of my driving test I have failed my test again, because hitting a curb is a serious or dangerous fault, which is a major fault, which means obviously I failed. So I was honestly like really already, like I haven't even started the test properly and I failed already. So throughout the rest of the test I stalled a couple times and I was just like so upset. I didn't even drive properly because that first 2 minutes in threw me off completely. And I remember when I drove back into the test centre, she told me, okay, Wura, I just want to say congratulations, you have passed your driving test. I was like, you're crazy or something? Did you not see what just happened at the beginning of the test? But I didn't say anything. I was like, are you sure? She goes, do you want me to change my mind? I was like, no, please. Please don't change your mind. Like, I will take it for all it's worth. And she gave me the test certificate, which I wanted to show. It's like a blue certificate, but it's in my mom's room. I've tried to look for it and I don't know where she's kept it. But I'm just so happy and so I was so excited. Imagine failing 7 times and picking yourself up again and doing it. It really like encouraged, like it really encouraged me that, wow, if you persevere and you do things enough, eventually, yeah, you'll get. And I made a video, and it's really bad. I put that video on private, but before this video is released, I'm gonna unprivate that video, and I'm going to tag it in the description box below. I'm going to link it in the description box below, and I want people to watch that video, because it's a video that encouraged me, because the video is about not giving up and how people try for so long before they get something right, but when they get something right, all that trying was worth it. So honestly, I told this story to a few people and they're like, wow, Wura, I would have never ever been able to persevere the way you persevered, and ultimately you got what you wanted, which was my full license. And now I have my full license. And 2 weeks ago my mum surprised me with a car. I had no idea she was going to buy me a car, but when I came home that day with my test certificate, because my mum thought I was going shopping in Romford, she had no idea that I was actually going to go take my driving test. So when I came home with my pass certificate, she was over the moon. Like, she was overjoyed. She was more happy than I was, because she knew the struggle and she just felt like I deserved it. And she actually bought me a lovely car, and I'm just so grateful to God, because this was God's doing. Like, in life everybody has their time to do certain things, and I just feel like this was my time, and I'm just so happy. And I know it might be so like a small thing to other people, like, oh well, I got my license in one go and stuff like that, but this was one of those things where it's a journey for me. I'm not used to being bad at things, so when I kept on failing I was like, why am I so bad at driving? Like, why can't I not just do this? And I just realized, like, no, don't rush things. Like, your time will come. You have to persevere, and this can be linked to any situation in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be driving, it doesn't necessarily have to be a job, it doesn't have to necessarily be uni. It can be anything. Whatever you feel like you want to do, yeah, and you're not doing, if you give up, then that thing could never be achieved. And I'm gonna link that video because that video is actually titled "Don't Give Up," and it's such an amazing message. And I bless myself with that message. When I listen to that, it encourages me. So I don't know why I privated it. I'm gonna unprivate it. And I really want you to watch it, guys, because it encourages me, and it's me speaking, so I know it can encourage other people. I'm so grateful, and thank you guys as well for the continued support. Like, I'm so close to 2,000 subscribers. I'm so gassed. Like, I am not exactly the most consistent uploader, and people are still subscribing, and I'm just so grateful. I do apologize for the time it's taken for me to release a new video, but I'm just so happy, I'm so excited, and I'm so gassed, guys. So y'all, I'm on the road finally. I'm whipping, and yo, I'm very excited about that. So thank you for watching this long ass video about my driving experience. I hope y'all have been encouraged from my testimony and my story, and I just want to end this video by saying, guys, I promise you, if you work hard enough and if you persevere long enough, you will achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. It's just that simple. Like, you cannot quit and you cannot give up, because quitters never win, my G. Okay, all right, take care, guys, and I will see y'all in my next video. I love y'all all, and take care now. Bye. There'll definitely always be money for my bills to be paid, and it's so important that you don't try to run away from bills, because it is a binding contract, and if you do not pay your bill, it will come up and bite you later on in the future when you're trying to get a house, or you're trying to get something big, a car, something that you really want because of your carelessness when you were younger. Also, what I would say